Hi, everyone. Welcome to the You-est You podcast. This is Julie. I am your host and so very excited for today's guest and to introduce you to Anjua. Let me tell you a little bit about her first before you get to meet her for yourself. So today you have the great privilege and honor of getting to meet Anjua Maximo. She is a certified life and movement coach and is the co-owner of GrooveRyde, Cleveland's premier boutique fitness studio, boasting its third location, which is about to open. Will be opened in 2019. Anjua Maximo is all about specializing in guiding women to create a positive and powerful connection to themselves mentally, physically, and spiritually with her signature Pure Movement classes and the Electric Life Coaching Program. She was first introduced to the power of personal development through her years working as a manager for Lululemon Athletica, where she was exposed to various seminars and trainings in the area of life goal coaching. Anjua knew she wanted to use what she was learning to create classes and events that would empower women. One of the reasons I love her. This passion led her to pursuing her certification in life and leadership coaching from one of the nation's top coaching academies, the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching, otherwise known as IPEC. And by blending her love of movement and belief in its healing benefits with her love for personal development, she created an outlet for women to discover their own unique expression in the world. I am so excited to have you here today, Anjua. This is such a gift. And I'm all about empowering women. You're all about uplifting and empowering women. We love men too. So whoever you are listening, so thrilled to have you. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I love this so much. And yes, absolutely. I feel like the guys can totally benefit from everything that we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to say, I know there are male listeners.
Yeah.
We get both. And
inclusion. I am.
Inclusion. There is something though, as a female and working to empower women, I would love to hear for you to share a little bit about your story. I know that you probably didn't build this company and GrooveRyde and all of it, what you're doing overnight. And I think, sometimes I know I do this too. You look at somebody's where they are right now and it's like, oh my God, that is amazing. And there's always the journey to get there. And I'm curious to hear a little bit about your journey, how that shows up as you being your You-est You and what that looks like today.
Absolutely. I want to say that it does actually feel when I tell this story like it happened kind of fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it does. And I think it really began with a seed that was planted years ago when I first started my sensual dance teaching. And I knew that I eventually wanted to own my own studio. I just kind of put it on the back burner. So it was one of those big goals that seemed really lofty and scary. And every studio owner I'd encountered up until that point seemed to have like nightmarish stories of what it was to own a studio. And it was awful and don't do it was all I kept hearing. So I let my career with Lululemon at that time continue to pull my focus in that direction. And I was having a great time there as well, but it was always kind of burning in the back of my mind. And then one day, things at Lululemon just began to shift as far as, where I saw myself there, where they saw me there. And we weren't quite aligned. And at that point, I looked at my husband and I was like, I think it's time to pull out my goal sheet again. And in that moment, he also simultaneously, I always say it's so funny how the universe works, but he was also having kind of that same shift in perspective at his job, and also wanted to return to something that he loved very much, which was physical fitness, being an athlete all his life, and that sense of community. So we kind of combined our goals. And in that moment, we decided, okay, well, you want to do this women's studio, but I can't work the desk. I'm like, no, that's awkward. And like, you need to do your own thing. And he's like, well, I want to do cycle and maybe some other things. And he's like, well, we'll have like this combined effort. So we just kept visioning. But the wheels had been set in motion. And it felt like at that point in a while, there were lots of highs and lows, lots of things like bank loans not coming through, and being, novices at this thinking, oh my God, it's over, and tears and frustration, and realizing, oh, you just go somewhere else for money. You know what I mean? Like a lot of that, the process of building it seemed like it took a long time. But then when you think about it again, we pulled it all together in almost the space of, I think, about a year. Though the opening of the studio took a long time. We utilized every moment to kind of build. So there was no dead time, even though it felt like it at the time. Just a quick, for instance, there was a time when we thought we were going to be opening in November, and we actually didn't open until the following spring. And people were like, well, what are you doing with these bikes? Like, you're sitting on bikes. And we just started taking them around to different studios in the area that would host us. And complement their workout with our workout, and started to film it and post it and get our stuff out. And then people just started catching on, and people kept talking about this GrooveRyde studio without a studio. And where is it? And when is it opening? So that's how we kind of built that momentum. And after that, I'm not going to lie, it felt like a runaway train, because in less than 3.5 years of opening, we're into the third space already. And sometimes we do look at it and go, when did that happen? How? Yeah. Really, really fast.
Wow.
And a lot of learning from that too.
Well, I love what you said, and I think this is for especially those that are in the entrepreneurial world or taking a vision and creating something manifest into reality. There's often that space, and I heard you say this, where there's a little bit of that maybe darkness, or I don't know, or that place, like you said, you had all these bikes without a space. And I'm just picturing you guys, like, that's a pain in the butt to pick up bikes. I was like, oh my God, I've done yoga mats. I've done stuff like that, but bikes are no joke. One bike, I mean, I'm like thinking about it. Do they rent like a U-Haul? They have a van? How'd they do that? Like, did they store them? And that probably was not easy or super fun to be lugging bikes here and there.
But that's the thing. It actually was.
Yeah. Oh, it was.
Oh my gosh. It was actually the most fun. Matter of fact, when we got the space.
Yeah.
He was like, can we just go on the road? Because it
was.
Oh,
how funny.
And we got it down to such a science.
Yeah.
We were in and out of places in 10 minutes. We were like, we joke, we were like a band of cycling yogis that would just roll up with a truck, and we should do guerrilla classes around Cleveland and just pop out, teach a class for 45 minutes, roll those bikes back in and go. And you'd never even know we were there. And I think, but what made it so joyous were the people that were involved. And we literally had a whole team of people that were willingly giving up their time. Like, they were like, I'll drive the truck. They were all showing up to ride or to move bikes and just to be part of it. So it became like an actual fun, crazy excursion, if you can imagine, like every time we showed up at a place. And we would show up, en masse. Even if you weren't riding that day or you weren't teaching, you just came to cheer and scream and yell and bring the energy. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was actually really, really fun. The part that was scarier was like the parts where there's like the money parts. Those are the scary parts. Community is always a joy for us.
Yeah, say more about, and I think that's so great, having the fun with the actual like moving them and creating that momentum and that energy, which I'm sure people picked up and they were like, what is this? Like you said, when are we gonna have the space? Can you say more about, I think this is very important, and I appreciate your just being open and if comfortable being vulnerable. I think, especially when you're opening a studio or a space that, a brick and mortar space, that takes, you have to have some finances. It takes a different way of doing the whole money thing. I'm curious, what can you say? What did you learn about that? What that was like? What are some of the lessons for you? Whatever you want to share in that department.
We did a lot of research prior to going into it. And even with having done all that research, there were still things that we just didn't know.
Yeah.
Didn't know that we were going to have to pony up some money of our own, as part of the injection. We didn't know how quickly they were going to start billing us, to get that money back. And I'm like, oh wait, we thought we had some time,
Oh wow.
Things like that you didn't anticipate. And then it really was for the first time it was a situation of just poor timing. I was exiting a job right when that loan was trying to go through, and they were like, no. So they vetoed that. And that was that situation. The second time around, we had great success. But then like the third time around, it was a situation of we hadn't shown enough, even though we were super profitable, we hadn't been in business long enough.
Yeah.
The bank was hesitant, and we're like, we know, but we need to show at least 6 more months of revenue. I'm like, but we're going to open this other space in 6 months. So, so then having to just keep sourcing. And I think what it was we continued to ask questions, listened and reached out to anybody who was willing to offer, people who knew more than us, other entrepreneurs who seemed to be finding finance. We got involved with Jumpstart Inc., which is a local business, a local entity that helps entrepreneurs with everything from learning how to run businesses, hire, financing, procuring money, getting your pitch together for money. And, for me, I went and enrolled in that program because I felt that while I'm the creative on the team and I'm the people person, I really didn't have enough knowledge of the financial side of it. And that was mostly my husband. And I'm never comfortable not knowing anything, because I always think, if anything were to happen, like, I don't want to be sitting there and like, I have no clue.
Yeah.
And while not necessarily like I can, I'm as comfortable as he is with it, I have more knowledge of it now. I know to ask questions more now and not just take things for face value. For him, he went through various business programs also, just trying to learn almost on the job. And I think in entrepreneurship, you can do things several different ways. You can go to business school and you can go through a certain route and take those steps and enter in and see how you do from that angle. Or you can kind of do what we did, which is get as much information as possible, get your business plan together, gather info, take programs as you're kind of going and almost learning as you go.
Yeah.
Or you can completely jump in blindly. And for some people that really works well. And then for others, I think they feel that they spend too much time trying to catch up. Right? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I love how you broke that down. And I think even just trying anything you want to try new, you can do the full blown, like the B school thing or learning as you go, or some people, they jump in. I think that's a really great way to break it down.
And I think it's about your personality. It's really like when people say, well, what's best? I'm like, I think it's best with what you can handle. Like if you have the disposition to handle jumping in and not looking, go for it. Like there's people who just live for jumping out of planes, right?
Yeah.
There's other people that are going to ask 76 questions before they even get to the door. And maybe they're not quite that person who should be jumping out of planes, right? And I feel like there's other people who just thrive when they have structure and they have a plan and a map and they know exactly where they're going. And if they don't, if it veers off, they at least know where they can reference back to a guide or something, and that works for them. But anyway, I think with the money thing, the biggest thing for us is that you can't stop looking and you have to continuously be resourceful, finding out the different programs you can apply to, just not giving up. There is so much money out there. That's what's kind of crazy about it, is that there actually is money out there for entrepreneurs. You just have to know how to source it.
Yeah.
And you have to continuously look, and then you have to be willing to do the work to get it. 76 pages worth of application and what have you, and things like that. It's not like you just write a really nice essay and people are like, oh, here's $5,000 or
right.
$5,000. It's like, no, it's just so much that it entails. Or getting your pitch together and being comfortable with talking about your business. You have to be willing to hustle. Yeah. And it's like that's one of our mottos. It's the heart and hustle crew. It's like kind of like our other.
I love that. I love that. That's such a great, I'm just writing, be willing to hustle. And I think, as you said, depending on your personality style, but either way, no matter, even if you jump first or you took the full on, school, I agree. And it can look different at different times, but it sounds like for you guys, I love that. The heart and hustle. It's like marrying the two.
Always the two. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you need one without the other. Otherwise the hustle just gets you too hard.
Yes, for sure.
The heart ain't always great for business too much. You have to find a business balance between the two.
So I'm going to ask you a question. This is just coming to me. And I know that we talked about empowering women. And to me, one of the things I'm curious about, I think you had mentioned, I don't know, because we had fun talking beforehand and listening. I almost forgot to record. We were having so much fun. I didn't want to, I was like, oh yeah, wait, we got a podcast interview here. Cause Anjua, just love talking to you. So now I'm like, did she say this to me or before? But I think you talked about some sort of dancing or working around sensuality. And I am very curious, because I know we have male and female listeners, but I do think for both, this is an area I'm especially interested in, and would love to hear a little bit more about your background there and then how that relates to empowering women.
Absolutely. So that started also years ago in Los Angeles. I became an instructor for a studio called S Factor.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay. So Sheila Kelly was one of the original, or I would say one of the first people to take the concept of like pole fitness or pole dancing,
Yep.
and in such a way that it became very mainstream, right? She actually got on Oprah, and, you know, once Oprah sanctions something, said, oh, it's okay. She got Oprah's blessing, and at that point it had just kind of exploded. And that's when I had become one of her early instructors. What I found there was the most amazing thing in the world. And it was something like I'd never imagined. I mean, I heard pole dancing, and of course what I envisioned was that we were going to go in there and we'd be doing some boom boom moves and like little shaking and twerking and things like that. I mean, I didn't really know, I assumed we'd be flipping upside down. And instead what I found was it was just a room full of women that were all kind of nervous and scared together, but all looking for something collectively. Right. And it was the moment when the teachers that were leading that demo that day started dancing, and they were like, I remember it to this day. I don't remember their names, but they were like very distinct body types. Right. And it was one woman was very petite and rounder, hippie, a plump shape, and another one was very, very tall and long. And it was just, she was all limbs. Another woman just kind of had like somewhere in the middle of the body, but each woman danced in such a way that there was so much confidence in what she was embodying in that moment. But the woman I could not stop looking at was the tinier woman who was rounder and plumper. And it was like the way she owned. I'm going to be very, very honest here. Can I say ass? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
She owned it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Owned it. And I just was like, I want to move like her. I'd never seen anything like it. And it was how they moved that was very unique. So I learned there, and then decided that I needed to add a bit more, though, because what I was finding as an instructor there, I had over 100 students at one point. The work was very deep for a lot of people. And what was happening was, even though I think people were coming and thinking they were going to learn a little pole dancing, a little fun thing to take back home to their significant other, they were finding that things were actually cracking open.
Yeah.
Right. And I have a famous in my mind that it just sticks out, a story of a student who had been dancing, and I was taught to read bodies. And that's what this woman taught me to do. She taught me to read your body. So I could actually tell how your whole day was happening by just how you were moving in your dance. And I knew when you were breathing and when you were not breathing. And this one woman had been kind of danced beautifully, but there was something she was just holding on so tightly to control. And something happened this one day, and it just broke. And the whole room was just like, we were just losing it. And we would just scream. It's just all these women just going crazy. And we leave, and she comes into the bathroom after me, and she's like, oh no, you don't. You're not going to crack me wide open like that and just leave me like this. Like, what was that? What just happened? And I was like, I don't know. We didn't train on that part. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I didn't know what to say to her, and I think in general that, S Factor now has very much gone in that direction of going even deeper with it. And I'm happy to see that. But I just knew for me at that point that, okay, if I do this on my own ever, there's just a bit more that I want to be able to offer than just the movement. And that's when I decided that I would get the coaching certification if I ever did this. And, years kind of went by where I didn't touch the idea until I got to Cleveland in that moment I was speaking of earlier. And in that whole year that we also were opening the studios, when I got my coaching certification on top of everything else that was going on. And prior to that, though, had already been involved in what Lululemon was teaching me. So the coaching was already inherent in me from the time with the movement. I just didn't have the words, nor did I have the tools to help them past a little bit more of what was happening. And that's what I really wanted to be able to do.
Wow. Very profound. And I can get just from your journey, why the coaching piece, how that kind of came into play as well, and how important it is. I mean, this is we could do like hours on this topic, and it's something I'm really, really eager to delve more into, which is just the idea of really understanding sensuality and divine feminine and all of that. And
maybe I'll come back and we can just do that one time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is a whole, I'm pulling myself back, but I think that's an interesting story with the woman who was like, okay, now what do I do? Like, I opened physically and emotionally, now what? And so
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, tell me about the coaching today, but you were going to add something I would love to hear.
I was just going to say, well, I think what it was, though, is that sometimes people didn't even know there was something there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it gets startling. Or, you know, like I've had students also very recently, the program has, we've changed it from a 6-week program, where they were meeting once a week, the Pure Movement program, which is what I had created here in Cleveland, to now it's a weekend immersion. So it's like all those hours over the 6 weeks just into one weekend. So it's very intense. But this one woman, you know, I remember she just had this startled look on her face in the middle of it. And I was like, what is it? She's like, I just never thought about sensuality in that regard. And I'm kind of having like, things are firing off in my head and, you know, those types of things. And you want to be able to talk to people about that, because I think it's really important that especially with sensuality and our sexuality, that we understand the origins of where we even thought of ourselves in that story. You know, how did it come to be that we thought of ourselves in any of the light that we do? So to speak, you know, was it our parents? Was it our siblings? The songs we heard, the TV we watched, you know, magazines we snuck? Where did you get the information from that formed the stories in your head now? And then what parts of it do we need to actually clear up, right? So that we can have a healthier outlook on our sensuality, and which parts of us can we continue to celebrate and elevate us and utilize this? But it's really about the parts that I find most people are coming to me for that are holding them back, and also tied to what they were taught.
Yeah. Beautiful. Say more about the Pure Movement, about the immersion program and what you do. I think it's fascinating. I love it. Love the idea.
The Pure Movement immersion weekend, we take about 10 women, no more than 10, so we keep it very intimate. We gather for, as I said, 3 days, and we combine the development with, go away, thank you, that's Sebastian.
It's all good. We love kids.
My tiny human. We combine this development with the movement. So we'll start off by just a discussion of the origins of our thoughts on sensuality. What does it even mean, that word to you? How did you learn it? And they just exchange information. And then we do some exercises where they're actually working together. And again, it's to build that connection between women simultaneously as they're building connection with themselves. Down that competition and that weird judgment vibe and all those things too that we are kind of taught. You know, some of it is natural to be competitive in a sense. And I've, you know, read a lot about female biology at the age of 13 and 14, when those types of things kind of come up naturally. But I feel that we just then add to it and foster it and don't actually, you know, what is human nature and biology can also be tempered and trained, so that it's not a situation where it becomes rapidly out of control, which is what I feel like it has gone to now between women, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It gets fostered and almost nurtured and pushed as it's fun and it's natural, and it actually doesn't need to be. I think what we're better at is collaboration, and what we've known more for is collaboration. So in those moments when they're working together, whether it's them just holding space, you've done looking exercise, because I know you've got a landmark, right? Just to each other's eyes, we make them do that, you know, for a full 3 minutes, and it's like, the things that happen when they just allow themselves to be in front of somebody else, we know it's tremendous. That's powerful. But so now we're creating links between them. And then we introduce the movement, and the movement is slow. Not 5, 6, 7, 8. It's not on the beat, but it all has to do with intuition. There might be a few distinct movements I give them, like a hands on the wall, stretching of the legs, and it looks very sensual. It might even be something you'd see in an exotic dance club, but when taken out of context and done strictly for you and how it feels, it takes on a whole nother context.
Wow. That is awesome. What I love about what you're doing is, number one, it's like the immersion. It's a great name, but getting people to really, these women to look at, like, and I'm thinking for those listening, and we'll have information if anyone's interested, but also even on your own, like, to start thinking about, where did you get these definitions or thoughts about yourself, about your sensuality, about you as a female or a male? And then the whole piece, you know, the competition versus collaboration. I know for me, one of my goals is to uplift as many, just to change that all around. I feel really strongly about that, because I think as a sisterhood, women can uplift one another like no one else. I love that focus. And then the whole movement, the intuition focus is fantastic.
And it really, to see it happen though, like, it can bring tears to your eyes. That's, of course, it's not just that it's gorgeous and it's sexy. Yeah, it can be those things too. And sometimes it's heartbreaking. And sometimes you literally are just seeing somebody mourn the death of something, right? just how they fall open and let their heart fall back.
Yeah.
Like,
Beautiful.
whoa, right? So that's when I like tell people, like, it's not your usual sensual dance class.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be what I think most people think.
Right. And this is a weekend program. It's a full weekend.
It's a full weekend. So we start Friday night as like a meet and greet just to get to know each other, get the like wiggles out because nobody's breathing. And then we start Saturday and we go about 5 to 6 hours Saturday and then 5 to 6 hours on Sunday.
Awesome. Yeah. Great. We'll have information.
Oh, for sure.
People can go.
You mentioned something about the boys, and I want to address this really quickly.
Yeah, please. I love it.
So the same way that we say that there is a biology that indicates that, we naturally will get into competition with each other at a certain age, the same goes for the boys, right? And I think too, with boys, we too often have let what may be inherent get rapidly out of control. And the idea, when and it comes most when I hear men say, well, aren't we just all animals? And I'm like, well, yes. But it's such a poor argument because yes, you are, but you also, unlike an animal, are able to reason and learn something different. And even an animal can actually learn and reason and to some extent. So I just find that to be a poor argument when people say, well, it's just how we are. And I'm like, yes, to an extent, this is true.
Yeah.
And we can unlearn certain behaviors because they're inherent in us doesn't mean they're good for us.
No, absolutely.
That's what I really wanted to get to.
Yeah. No, and gosh, we could go into that with the whole, our brains are different even. I mean, you can recreate your whole self. So, and I get it. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Very cool. I love, Anjua, that you've really just created these incredible opportunities for people to, what I'm getting, it's like, even like the GrooveRyde, Pure Movement, like both to me seem like ways to really, to just enhance your own inner well-being, your own inner sanctity, mind, body, spirit. And you have different ways of doing that. And love the whole, I'm excited for you. I know you have your third studio that's opening ASAP that will be open when this airs. Yeah?
Yes.
And
opening is the 19th, actually, January 19th.
Awesome. What is on the horizon for you? Like, I always like this kind of, vision question. If you were to paint a picture or kind of think about, the next 3 to 5 years or even farther down the road, like what kind of legacy do you want to leave? What are you hoping to create on planet Earth? What are some of the goals for you?
I definitely want to, I've said this for a while and my husband is in agreement. This is the year that I'm going to focus wholeheartedly on the coaching aspect of what I do. Right now, the business has taken a huge chunk of my attention.
Yeah.
As it would. And, I actually made a conscious decision earlier this year to put aside or to hold off on the coaching and invest my time in the business because I was trying to do both before.
Yeah.
And I was just frustrated because I could do neither really great. Right. And we know this story. I think it just took me believing that I could step away and that it would be fine to step away. And then hold myself accountable, though, to coming right back to it at the time that I said I would. And, I'm grateful to have a partner who understood the importance of that aspect of my life and saw how much of it feeds me. GrooveRyde absolutely is my baby, but that coaching is this is my heart and soul. And so I would like to move towards more group coaching. The one-on-one coaching I did love doing, but I found that I want to reach more people. Yeah. And it's something about the energy in the group dynamic. And I love seeing the connections of the people firing off when they're like, you too. Oh my God, me too. And then hearing that people made friendships at these things and seeing those pictures posted later. Like, I just love that whole group dynamic. I thrive in a group. So that's where I feel my strength is. And I'd like to focus on doing more speaking engagements. Pure Movement is now going to be on the road. So while we may still be doing immersion weekends in our home, in our studio in GrooveRyde, the studio proper is no longer. So we're kind of taking it out on the road. And one of the first places we'll be going will be to the west side to Three Sister Studio in the spring. So I'm excited to now take it out of my space and see what it feels like in someone else's space and hopefully just touch another community of women that maybe, just a lot of times what I find is there's so much fear.
Yeah.
And even
Absolutely.
just getting in, making the reservation is terrifying, and then getting in the car and driving to me is terrifying. So let me bring it to you.
Oh,
You know,
it's
make it a
beautiful.
little bit easier. So hopefully, that's what I'll be seeing. I've got studio interested in Toledo, possibly going out to other parts of Ohio. So we'll start there. But yeah, that's what I see, is that I would be doing my coaching around the electric life and, you know, that personal development piece, and then working with the peer movement.
Awesome. One of my last questions would be, what is the electric life? Like, what does that mean to you? How would you define that?
Gosh. So I'm going to tell you a little secret. So where it was inspired from, so when Prince died, I was a huge Prince fan.
Yeah, me too.
And, you know, I feel like, you know, we know people are going to die, and everyone is an amazing human and soul, and it's always a loss. And I think that when you have certain people, though, and music is so dear to me, that it can actually paint an entire portion of your life.
Yeah.
That you get affected in a different way with the passing of that voice and that soul. And I just remember the words and wanting to go through all his lyrics and everything. And it just saw that one lyric always stuck out to me, when he says, you know, the electric life, and it means forever.
Oh,
And so that I took that and I was like, okay, well, this is kind of my little tribute to the purple one. And also, God, the electric life, that just sounds so exciting. Do you know what I mean? It's not necessarily a perfect life. It's not necessarily that the life is full of happiness every day, but that in some way it is electric. And I think if I can just be content with that, that's what I would want out of life. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be happy every day, but electric, sure.
that is fantastic. Pay homage to Prince. I just heard a song from him this morning and I was like, oh, what a being that graced the earth. My God.
Unbelievable. Those kinds of talents do not have, there's so many talented people, and then you just have these.
Yeah. Shining stars. Yeah. That is fantastic. I love it. It has been, I mean, we should talk. We will have to connect later, maybe do another episode. I mean, it's so fun to talk to you, Anjua, and I know anyone listening is going to be electrified. Like, there's a lot here, which is so great. And I'll have all your info so that people can look you up and then find their, you know, willing or in Ohio or want to make the trek to Ohio. And then I see you doing this all over the place. Just keep eyes open.
I would love to. Someone did ask about Arizona. I said I wasn't ready for them. So.
Yeah. Not yet. But I mean, Arizona, come near me in DC, wherever. West Coast, East Coast.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this was such a gift. Thank you. And I just, you know, I applaud you for really taking the leap of faith. I know doing that with your husband, with yourself, and then what you've created obviously is elevating and empowering so many people. And that, to me, you know, this show is all about how do you actualize your highest self, and you're living that. You really are. So thank you for being an example.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. This was awesome.